Good morning, boys and girls. Good morning and welcome back. Today we are doing brakes. So last time we finished up machining and fitting the hub. Again, this is an RSX base model hub fit into this EK EX trim knuckle. And as I think I may have mentioned a time or two before, we are using RSX Type S caliper and rotor. So now that we have the RSX hub installed, the rotor just fits right on, and the caliper bracket does bolt up, but there is a minor modification that is necessary. When installed, the offset, that is this relationship, the offset is not quite right. It's a little bit too far. The caliper and caliper bracket are a little bit too far this way, thiswards. So what we need to do is we need to machine a little bit of this material off of this surface so that we set the caliper and caliper bracket a little bit further in this direction. So when we take the rotor, nice brand new Brembo rotors, take the screws provided. I'll be honest, I never used to actually use these screws, mostly because they're a real pain in the ass to remove, especially when you live in Pennsylvania and everything rusts together. But Honda's design is a little bit better than some of the other manufacturers that I've ever seen, because they have these jack holes that help you push the rotor off. But also I learned about impact screwdrivers, the ones where you hold it and whack it. And even if that doesn't work, these guys are pretty soft, and after about 30 seconds with a portable drill, you just drill them out and jack them off. As you can see, this is a new caliper and caliper bracket, and these are actually really pretty reasonably priced. I think I got them for like 60 or 70 bucks through Rock Auto, and that wasn't even the cheapest one available. Interesting fact is the caliper is the same on the RSX Type S and the RSX base, and the same as this 06 to 11 Civic Si, and maybe common on other stuff too. But between the base model RSX and the Type S RSX, the only thing that's different is the bracket, because the rotor is larger. It's 11.8 inch rotor, if memory serves, and the I don't know what it is on the base model, but it's a smaller rotor. And essentially on the Type S, the bracket just spaces the caliper further out on the rotor. And speaking of the RSX Type S rotor, in the application of a 6th gen, or in this specific case a 5th gen Civic, some people think that they need bigger brakes, that they need spoon or some other aftermarket brake that is bigger than this. I think that's kind of crazy, because I think that this rotor and caliper combination is pretty comfortable. I mean, unless you're doing real hard racing, it's pretty comfortable on the RSX, and the RSX weighs probably getting pretty close to 1,000 pounds more than an EG. Well, at least somewhere between 500 and 1,000 pounds more. So I found that this combination on my EK is more than enough from a thermal standpoint and from a brake feel standpoint. I don't see why you would need bigger brakes, even on a racetrack, for a car like that. Suffice to say, for street driving, spirited driving, an 11.8 inch rotor is more than adequate enough. So I'm going to try and show you guys not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it. So you can kind of see the nature of the problem, right? Is that I can't actually fit this bracket Can you see that? I can't actually fit this bracket, right? This needs to slip behind the rotor and the mounting hole, and it doesn't quite fit because it's a little bit too thick. So you can kind of see the nature of the problem is we need to take this bracket and we need to shift it over so that the rotor is more or less centered in the bracket. So I've already taken some measurement and done some maths, and here's the result of said maths. This width, 1.175, represents the distance, the space in between these two machine surfaces. Obviously this is the rotor, 0.985, it's centered in the middle of that bracket, and then these two sort of boxes represent the mounting lugs on the knuckle, right? So essentially what we did, we just took a measurement from the mounting lugs on the knuckle to the rotor, and we subtracted the width of, or I should say the depth of that mounting lug, and we split the difference between the width of the rotor and the width of the space in the bracket, subtracted that, and then we're left with, if you can see here, we're left with the width of this bracket, right? These rectangles represent this thickness of the bracket, and right, that's the thickness that it needs to be. It so happens that it's right about 0.531 inches thick, so that means we need to machine off around about 1/10 of an inch, and that's what we're gonna do next. So here's our setup on the milling machine. You can see we have our bracket clamped down and on some 1-2-3 blocks. So the reason for that again is we have a machine surface under here that you can't quite see. But right, those 1-2-3 blocks are touching the table and touching that machine surface. This space under here is just a gap, so the bracket isn't actually touching anything. And so like most of the machining operations that you're going to encounter in the shop, the operation that we need to do is pretty darn simple, but holding on to the part is oftentimes the tricky part. What we have here is we have a 3/4 or thereabouts solid carbide cutter. I buy these on eBay. They're reground so that their dimension is different than what it was new, but they cut through steel like this with no problem at all. Steel? Well, I guess this would be cast iron. Anyway, they make quick. Yeah, it cuts like cast iron. This is cast iron. Anyway, sorry. They make quick work of this. It's beautiful. You wouldn't really need a carbide cutter for this, but I have one and it makes life easier. So we have the quill all the way down till the tool touches, so that's our 0. We're taking off 103, so 0.103 inches. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the knee, and well, as soon as I move the tool off of there, we'll just turn this dial. We'll turn this crank 103, and that'll be our depth. And as far as X and Y travel, we're really just going to eyeball it. It's not that big of a deal. So long as that we make this space wide enough, it should be no problem. So we'll just kind of trace where it already is, and it won't really make a difference. I did tram this part reasonably well so that we have, so that it's, I don't know, each side is maybe 15-20 thou within each other. So if you were putting this in a vise, or if you were really needing to make sure that these are what would it be, collinear, you'd pay more attention. But again, it's not that critical. It's just ensure that these are flat and remove material. Alright, we got our bracket done. This is how it turned out. I think it turned out pretty nice. As you could probably see, that cutting tool had a radius on it, so we got a nice little radiused edge there. And again, it's not a super precision job, but it doesn't need to be. So we knocked off about 100 thousandths, and what we'll do now is we'll check the fit. So this guy goes on here like that. Man, she's got some gravity to her. So you can kind of see how that gap is shaping up. If you look at that straight on, that rotor isn't perfectly centered in the middle, but that's largely because this guy, these surfaces that we're mounting to aren't perfectly square, so that when you get closer to these mounting surfaces, the fit is more balanced. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Remember, of course, that caliper sits on here, but it's allowed to float, right? It floats leftwards and right, and those pads are allowed to float. So this will be no problem at all. We have adequate clearance. It looks good, in my opinion. So a couple more things. One thing I want to do is try to treat these to prevent corrosion on the surface that we just machined. So I think this would be, this would be a good opportunity to try the cold blue. I'll be honest, I don't know that that's the most effective sort of treatment, but I don't know, I don't get a chance to use it that often. It seems like that would be a good opportunity because you either got to paint this with something really resilient, or you have to plate it somehow. And it looks to me like this is, well, I don't know what kind of plating this is, but it's plated with something, right? So I'm going to cold blue this guy first. We're going to clean it off really good with acetone, and then we'll blue it, and that's always a fun thing to watch. Now that we have it all cleaned up, we're going to take some of this stuff and we'll start wiping it on there. This is kind of cool to watch, because it pretty much changes color right before your eyes. How cool is that? Ready for this one? So I like to really soak it on there and give whatever chemicals are chemicaling, give them ample opportunity to do so. So here's our finished part, and it is now definitely finished, not Swedish or Norwegianed. I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, we'll see how well that bluing holds up over time, but I don't know. I figured it was worth a try. So basically all we do now is assemble it back together, and we have a fully assembled wheel hub knuckle brake assembly. I was just testing you guys on that one. You guys catch that? Good work. Here's our caliper. And so I just put this stuff on kind of hand tight, because I'll tighten it all down once it gets installed on the car. Well, probably. And here's the other one that I baked earlier. Now we got 2 brake and hub and knuckle assemblies, basically ready to go on the car. I think the only thing I got to do is the lower ball joint, and then we're good to go. So these guys look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the result. I think it's going to work great. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's gonna work well. Thank you for watching.